Bonjour! Today you're going to be learning about subjects and verbs in French and how to conjugate a verb. Specifically, we're going to be learning about the verb avoir. Avoir means to have. Just like in English, in French, you have a subject and a verb in a sentence. The subject comes first, sujet, and then it's followed by the verb, verb. We've actually already used these in class. For example, one of the first things you learn, je m'appelle. Another one that we use a lot, je suis fatigué. So the subject in this second sentence right here is je, and in the first sentence actually. So that's our sujet. And then in the second sentence, the verb is follows the subject directly, so that would be suis, am in English. The verb in the first sentence is appelle, m'appelle. So here are the subject pronouns in French. Start with je, I. Then we have tu, you, singular. Abbreviate there. Il, he. Elle, she. On, one, meaning like people in general. Okay, so those are the singular subject pronouns. I'm running out of room here, so I'm going to go to a new slide to do the plural subject pronouns. So now on the plural side, our subject pronouns are nous, we, vous, you, and this can be either a plural you, plural like we would say in English, y'all, or it can also mean formal you. So if you're talking to one person formally, for example, if you were talking to Madame Graves, Dr. Graves, as we would say in English. So you would say vous to her if you were talking to her. And then we have il, which sounds exactly like the singular il. In this case, it means they, so plural. And it can be a group of all boys, so all male, or a mixed group. So if you have some girls and some boys, and you're talking about them, they, you're going to use il, so mixed group. And then the last subject pronoun in French is elle. This also means they, but this is for all girls. So if I were talking about you all, my students, I would use elle if I were talking about you. So that covers all of the subject pronouns, and we're going to see those again when we conjugate our verb. because when you conjugate a verb, you have to match the subject or the subject pronoun with the verb. Okay, so now let's take a look at our verb avoir, which remember means to have. This right here, avoir, is called the infinitive. Every verb has an infinitive form. It's kind of like the base form, the original form. You take that original form and you make a conjugation out of it. So you change it to match the subject or subject pronoun. When you set up a verb conjugation, you want to make a nice, neat chart that has 2 columns, like this, 2 columns, and 3 rows. So kind of 6 boxes there, okay? So go ahead and set up your verb chart, okay? Draw it out, a nice, neat chart with straight lines. Leave plenty of space to write in your conjugations here in just a minute. We're going to go over all of them, okay? But it's very important that your verb chart is neat in your notes to get into the habit of doing that. Okay, so hopefully you have set up your verb chart and drawn your lines. If you haven't, you should pause the video and go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to talk to you about how you set it up, because every single time we make a verb chart for a new verb, because we're going to be learning a lot of them, you set it up in the exact same way, meaning the subject pronouns are going to go in the same spot on your verb chart. Okay, so we're going to start over here in the top left. This whole column is going to be singular. Okay, these are our singular conjugations. And we start, the very first one is going to be je, which I have shortened in this particular verb conjugation to J apostrophe to combine it with the verb. You don't do this with any other subject pronouns, okay? And the reason we did it here is because our verb starts with a vowel. So if the verb starts with a vowel, you're going to shorten je to just je, and then your verb, okay? And then after je, below that, you put tu. Okay, you're always going to put tu there, you, singular. And then we're going to lump all 3 of these subject pronouns together because their verb conjugation is always going to be the same. Okay, so il, he, elle, she, and on, one. And then we move over to the plural side on the top. We've got nous, okay, we, vous, you or y'all. And then we're going to lump these two, both theys go together, okay, because they have the same verb conjugation. Il and elle. Now, you might have noticed that il sounds like il, singular il and plural il sound the same. Singular elle and plural elle sound the same. Okay, when you just have the subject pronoun by itself, it sounds the same. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the conjugation of avoir. Okay, listen carefully to the pronunciation of the verbs. J'ai. Tu as. Il a, or elle a, or on a. Nous avons. Nous avons. Vous avez. Vous avez. Ils ont. Elles ont. Elles ont. Okay, let's go through them one more time. J'ai. Tu as. Il a. Elle a. On a. Nous avons. Vous avez. Elles ont. Ils ont. Let's talk about a few things that are going on here. First of all, this conjugation and this conjugation sound exactly the same. Of course, we don't pronounce that S. A. Okay? Then over here on the plural side, you probably have noticed that we're making a liaison. We're linking the subject to the verb. The reason we do that is because we end the subject pronoun with a consonant, S's in this case, and then the verb starts with a vowel. So if we end in a consonant and start with the vowel, we're going to make the liaison there between the subject and the verb. So we've got nous avons, kind of makes a Z sound when you link them together. Vous avez and elles ont, ils ont. Z sound, okay? You might have noticed that this is a nasalization right here. We don't pronounce the S and we nasalize this N. Nous avons. This EZ makes an A sound. Okay, we don't hear the Z at all. And then we have another nasalization. This T isn't pronounced at all, and then the N is nasalized. Elles ont. Okay, so that's the verb avoir. Okay, so now that we've seen the conjugation and you've written that out in your notes, let's take a look at some examples. We can use this verb, have, to put it into sentences with a subject and a verb and saying what you have. So, for example, j'ai un ordinateur. I have a computer. I have a computer. Tu as un stylo. Tu as un stylo. You have a pen. Elle a un crayon. Elle a un crayon. She has a pencil. Nous avons un prof. Nous avons un prof. We have a teacher. Vous avez un iPad. Vous avez un iPad. You have an iPad. Or y'all have an iPad. We have no context here. We don't know who we're actually talking to, so we're not sure if it's talking formally to one person or plural to multiple people. So I could say this to you guys. Y'all have an iPad. Vous avez un iPad. Final example. Ils ont deux stylos. They have two pens. Okay, so the last thing that I want to go over is what you do when you have a noun subject instead of a subject pronoun. Well, noun subjects use the same verb form as the pronoun that you would use if you were to replace it. Okay, so for example, let's just take the name Martine. Okay, Martine is actually a girl's name in French. If we were talking about Martine, we wanted to say Martine has a desk. Okay, Martine has a desk. If we were to replace Martine with a subject pronoun, it would be she, elle. So then we know that we need to conjugate Martine to match this subject pronoun. So we would do a. Martine a un bureau. Okay, what if Martine were with someone else? We had Martine et Luc. Okay, so Martine is a girl, Luc is a boy, and we're talking about them, they. So since there's a boy in our group, we have to use il, plural. Okay, and then our verb conjugation would be to match il, plural. So we would use ont. Martine et Luc ont un bureau. They have a desk. Okay, la fin, the end. So now what I want you to do is to do the activities. Ouvrez votre livre et tournez à la page 26. Et faites les activités numéro Faites les activités 26 et 27. OK? Donc, au revoir et bon week-end.